The Chassid Reb Menachem Monish Maanעסזאן, known as Reb Monye. He was the son of the Chassid Reb Shloime, which was from the Chassidim of the Middle Rebbe. This Reb Shloime, his father, was a Gvir, the son of a Gvir. He was raised and educated from the Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe. And the Rebbe Rashab once described him, Reb Monye's father, Reb Shloime, once described him in a Sikha. And the Rebbe Rashab said, after Yechidus, Reb Shloime used to fabring with Chassidim and join the dance, the mochel of Yechidus. However, in comparison to other Chassidim, his level of Chassidische Varmkeit was from the lower ones. He was considered to be one of the colder Chassidim, what we call Balabatish Chassidim. Reb Shloime, just like any other Chassidische Galait in Shklov, would daven behislavus, would join the Fabrengens. Later on, the Rebbe Rashab says, once, in the middle of a certain Fabrengen, Reb Michal, the hinkedike melamed, the limping melamed, burst out in a very bitter cry. And he banged on his heart and on his head, and he said, Ribono shel olam, please have rachmanas on me, and help me, that I should have chayus and joy when I say v'hoyer eineinu b'soirasecha v'dabek lebeinu b'mitzvosecha v'yachad levaveinu la'avo le'iras shemecha, with the same chayus and joy that Shloime Maanעסזאן has when he says v'o'esher v'akoved m'fanecha. And the Rebbe Rashab explained, even though Reb Michal wasn't trying to put down Reb Shloime, he said it with a full sincerity and literally had rachmanas on himself. These words very much affected Reb Shloime. Reb Shloime quickly traveled to Lubavitch, and he entered Yechidus by the Middle Rebbe, and since then he changed and became a completely new person. And the Rebbe Rashab points out that the 8 years before that Reb Shloime traveled to Lubavitch and went to Yechidus by the Middle Rebbe did not affect him as much as those words of Reb Michal the Melamed. So his son, Reb Monye, was also a big Gvir, very wealthy, and he used it out many times to give big donations to the Rebbeim. And Fidik Rebbe once related, once Reb Monye told me that I came to the Rebbe Maharash and I went into Yechidus. And at that time, things were not going on very well in my house. I didn't have so much shalom bayis, my health wasn't perfect, my wife and kids' health wasn't 100%. So I wrote upon and I gave it to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe gave me a bracha. The Rebbe gave my wife a bracha and my children a bracha, a very detailed bracha, and he said, and the Rebbe Maharash said like this, you, your wife, and your children will be healthy in your bodies, in your souls, and you will have shalom bayis. So I answered, Amen, Kein Yoyamar Hashem, and I felt much better. Now, each time I was in Lubavitch, said Reb Monye, I would not travel quickly back home. Rather, I would spend 2-3 weeks in Lubavitch every time I visited. This time, when I was in Lubavitch, I stayed in Lubavitch close to 4 weeks. On Wednesday, before the last Shabbos, I was going to stay in Lubavitch. Reb Pinchas Leib the Meshares came over to me, and he said that Reb Leivik the Meshares asked that I should come to the small zal right away. I didn't even manage to eat breakfast yet, but I went quickly to the small zal. When I walked into the small zal, I saw that Reb Leivik is not there. So I went to Reb Leivik's room, and I found him there. So Reb Leivik told me, it's good that you came here and you didn't wait for me in the small zal. The Rebbe told me that he wants that you should come into him today. And if the guest would see that I'm letting you in, which is the second time this week that you're going into the Rebbe's room, while they are waiting for over a week to go in, they will be very upset with me. So wait here a moment, I'll go into the Rebbe, and I will say that you are here and you could come in now. Now, Reb Monye said to the Fidik Rebbe, the truth is that since the first time I ever came to Lubavitch, I never entered the Rebbe without a proper hachana. A day that I was going to go into the Rebbe was a day of avodah for me. And I didn't want to change that minhag of mine. And therefore I asked Reb Leivik if he could please ask the Rebbe if it's an urgent matter that needs to be discussed today. Then if yes, then I'll come in right now. But if not, if it's not urgent, if I could come in tomorrow, if the Rebbe is willing, I will come in tomorrow. That way I could make a proper hachana. So Reb Leivik went into Rebbe Maharash. And when he came out, he told me that the Rebbe said that, yeah, it's not a must to speak about it today. We could push it off to tomorrow. And Reb Leivik also said that the Rebbe Maharash, when he heard my request, he had a light smile on his face, and he added and he said, Chassidische chinuch in shklov is accompanied by an implanted, healthy hergesh. When I returned to the place where I was staying, I started to think, why is the Rebbe calling me? And I described to myself in my head that it must be some sort of a spiritual inyan, because by the Rebbeim, even Gashmias is Ruchnias. And everything that Rebbe says is like the Eibishter talking. Now, for the last 3 Shabbosim that I was there, I heard from the Rebbe 3 Ma'amorim Chassidus, and I had a copy of those 3 Ma'amorim from Reb Shmuel the Sefer. So now that I knew that tomorrow I'm going into Yechidus, I sat down and I chazed those 3 Ma'amorim slowly, so I could absorb everything that it says in those Ma'amorim. While I was chazering those Ma'amorim, I remembered the Rebbe's face and his motions while he was saying those Ma'amorim. I pictured that in my head, and I engraved in my thought the look of the Rebbe's Helike face. The next morning, I made a proper hachana before davening, and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I came outside of the Rebbe's room, and I waited to go into the Rebbe. When I entered the Rebbe told me, I have some matters to take care of, and I need a large sum of money for it to take care of in Peterburg. And I evaluated each of the wealthy Chassidim, how much they should give. And I estimated that you should give 2,000 ruble. So I asked the Rebbe, am I allowed or able to give such a sum amount of money? 2,000 ruble is 10% of everything that I own. And I have so much expenses right now. The nadin that I was promised I didn't even get yet, and the Yerusha money that I was supposed to get, my brothers were stealing from me, as the Rebbe knows. And I'm not such a big businessman. How can I give so much? The Rebbe listened to everything that I said, and then he said that the Eibishter should obey what I ask from him. For that you agree. But that you should obey to what I am asking you, you have reasons and excuses why not. I left the Rebbe's room, and I thought about everything the Rebbe said. When I came back to the place where I was staying, I found my brother Beryl sitting not in a very good mood. And I asked him what happened. So he said that the Rebbe estimated that I should give 3,000 ruble. And that's why he's not very happy, because he doesn't want to go against the Rebbe's words, but that was a very large amount of money for him. And he burst out crying. So I told my brother, don't be a fool. Let us both write in a note to the Rebbe saying that we're both giving the full amount that the Rebbe estimated us. And right away we wrote letters to the Rebbe saying that we're going to give everything. And we quickly went and gave it to Reb Leivik the Mesharis to give it to the Rebbe. Once, the Rebbe Marash told Reb Manya in Yechidus that he should chazer a maimer 400 times in a row. So when Reb Manya heard that, he traveled out of the country and he rented a room in a hotel and he chazered the maimer 400 times in a row. And when he came out, he said, when I came out, I didn't see anything except for the maimer. The Fidik Rebbe once related that the Seder in Lubavitch was that in the outer room sat a simple Mesharis, simple servant. And then in the inner room from that was Reb Leivik the Mesharis. This was in the times of the Rebbe Marash. And Reb Leivik the Mesharis was busy most of the time copying Ma'amorim of the Rebbe Marash. And getting into that room was not easy. And the room inside of that was the actual room of the Rebbe Marash. So once, Reb Manya was standing in Reb Leivik's room, trying to hear from the Rebbe Marash's room, or waiting maybe the Rebbe Marash will get out of his room so he could see his Helike upon him. This was in an afternoon hour. Suddenly, while Reb Manya is standing in Reb Leivik's room, he started to remember different things that happened to him in his youth. And he tried very hard to push away those thoughts, but he couldn't. After a while, the Rebbe Marash came out of his room, and he told Reb Manya, when you daven Zecher Rav Tuvcha with Kavana, then you affect that the people who are standing near you remember everything that happened to them from when they were born. And that's why Reb Manya remembered everything, because the Rebbe Marash was davening Mincha. Another time when the Rebbe Marash traveled out of the country, and Reb Manya accompanied him. So one day they were walking, and during the walk, Reb Manya was thinking in his head a certain plan about the future. That based on that plan, he will come to Lubavitch for the Yomim Noiraim, and he will stay in Lubavitch until after Sukkot. Then they kept walking, and then suddenly a certain not appropriate thought fell into Reb Manya's head. So that moment, the Rebbe Maharash turned to him and he said, "You are standing too close to me." And then he added, about the previous thoughts that he had, generally, it's not a good thing for a person to accept upon himself nedarim, promises, even b'machshava, even if it's just in a thought. Reb Shmuel Greiner once related that once, in the lifetime of the Tzemach Tzedek, so the Rebbe Maharash visited Reb Monya's house. And during the conversation, a certain family's name came up. And the Rebbe Maharash very much praised that family. Afterwards, he spoke about another family. And this time, the Rebbe Maharash praised that family even more than he praised the previous family. Many years later, this was already during the times of the Rebbe Maharash being the Rebbe, Reb Monya, lost his wife. His wife passed away. And he got 2 shidduchim offers. One from that first family that they discussed years before in his house. And the other shidduch offer was from the second family. Now, that event of the Rebbe Maharash visiting his house and discussing with his families, that event completely was forgotten from Reb Monya's head. When he came to the Rebbe Maharash to ask him which shidduch offer he should take, the Rebbe Maharash told him, "Didn't I answer you already?" The Frierdiker Rebbe once related, once Reb Monya visited the Rebbe, and he spoke about different people with the Rebbe. Those people were simple Yidden, and the Rebbe very much praised them. So Reb Monya wondered, why is it that the Rebbe is praising these simple Yidden so much? And he asked, Rebbe, why are you making such a big deal out of this Yidden? So the Rebbe said, they have milas. So Reb Monya answered, but I don't see it. It is known, says the Frierdiker Rebbe, that Reb Monya was a big businessman and he would deal with precious stones. So the Rebbe asked him, do you have precious stones over here? So Reb Monya said, yes, but now when the sun is shining, it's hard to look at them. Then Reb Monya took a package of precious stones, he laid them on the table, and he pointed at a certain one and he said, that stone, that's a very, very precious stone. So the Rebbe answered, I don't see anything special about it. So Reb Monya said, yeah, you need to be a maven, you need to be an expert. So the Rebbe said, a yid is pilei ployim, but you need to be an expert to be able to tell. Our Rebbe once related that once the Rebbe Rashab saw the Frierdiker Rebbe and Reb Monya playing chess. Says the Rebbe, this was probably on the night of Nittel when you're not allowed to learn. And the Rebbe Rashab approached and he said, to give advice, I'm not allowed to. So he just stood there quietly throughout the whole game. Afterwards, when they finished playing, he said, that move, and he pointed out a certain move that someone did, that is a derech in avodas Hashem. Another thing the Rebbe related, that Reb Monya was a big businessman in precious stones. And he also had connections with the government. And nevertheless, his Seder Hayoim was in such a way that he would only start dealing with business after learning Chassidus, Avodas HaTfilah, learning after davening, which started after midday. His priorities were first all the Ruchnius. At once, they came to him with a very big order that he could have made a lot of money from that. But he was still in the middle of davening or he's learning. So the Rebbe says they waited for him. They kept waiting and waiting until it was already 2:00 in the afternoon. So somebody from his family came and he said, they're waiting for you with a very, very big order. So he said, impatiently, he said, they're not even letting a Yid rest. I didn't even put on Rabbeinu Tam yet, and they're already drawing me a cup about diamonds. We'll finish off with a nigun that Rabbi Ytzchak בארדיטשאווער would sing during the Na'nouעים with the Lulav, and Rabbi Yisrael Ruzhiner would sing by Tkiyos on Rosh Hashanah. It's famous as the Ruzhiner nigun.